Every time I roll out a new course, I'm not worried about the demand, about the sales, because I know that people are always waiting to put down their credit card. For example, my newest course, Email Course Engine, I've gotten 3K pre-sale just by putting it on a Google Doc. And do you know why that is? It's definitely not smart hacks, right? I don't do them. It all comes down to these 3 questions that you can ask yourself. Number 1, do people really need your course? Number 2, what should really go into the curriculum? Number 3, the most important one. How are you going to put the course into the right people's hand? Over and over again, I keep hearing that people are building courses, but they're not able to get any students. So I'm here to share my 8-step formula to always validate my course idea and always building the buzz so that the launch will be successful. You know, over the years, I've been building a few digital products. You can find Joy in Chaos here. You can find Email Course Engine here. But today, I want to use a mini course called Easy Content Magic to walk you through the 8 steps. Number 1, validate your early idea using data. If you're someone who I want to create a course, I'm going to spend the next 7 days to build it. I want you to stop right there because you're not doing it the right way. Before you go in and develop a product, in this case a course, you really need to understand why people need it and what they need it for. And you know, I have 3 easy ways to get this data. Number 1, I just talk about it openly on Twitter, and I would gauge people's reaction. If they're excited, if they start sharing their pain points, I know they need this. Number 2, I survey people. But you know, conventional wisdom tell you to send out a survey and then ask people to fill it in. I don't believe in that, you know. I send out surveys on newsletter, I send out survey to my event attendees, but I always try to get them something. This way, they would really put in the honest answer instead of just helping you out. Number 3 is my number 1 favorite. Just chat with people. I'm always curious about what people are thinking when they come into my world. So every time when I'm chatting with them, I always ask what's their story, what they're struggling with, what they need help most. And then I start forming the answer in my head. And when I compile all of that into a Google Sheet, I have like more than 400 data points. So that was the big moment when I went, wow, people really need help thinking about what to share. Number 2 is setting up a 60-minute live workshop. Seriously, if you're thinking about jumping into building your course now, you are doomed to fail. Because the secret about teaching a course online is that if you cannot make your students happy live, you're not going to make them happy through video lessons. And there are really extra benefits when you do it live because you can see their reaction and then you can ask them, hey, do you understand what I just talked about? Then if things go really well, you will get some reactions like, Kavan, this is amazing. And that's when you know you have something good to turn it into a course. So I talk about setting up a workshop, right? Point number 3 is you need to draw people into the workshop. So at this point, I'm not even building the course yet. But I would build a landing page so that I can sell the workshop. I can get people to come attend it. Obviously, if you have an email list or a social following, you can broadcast it there and see if anyone would sign up. But I mean, if you don't really have an audience, it's totally okay. What I would do is I would just reach out to the people in my network and I would ask them one by one, hey, this is probably helpful to you. Do you want to attend or not? And now you might be thinking, Kavan, should I make this free or paid? I definitely recommend making it paid because if you make it free, you cannot really filter out who is serious about this knowledge or who is just there because they want everything. In the case of Easy Content Magic, I actually set the price point to be $19. So it's not super high, so I can get a big group around. And it's also not low enough so that someone would spend the money and don't even care about the result. And here comes a very, very important point. If you don't have an audience, and you don't know whose door to knock on right now, you're probably not ready for a video course because who are you going to sell to? So instead of moving forward, I really want you to go back to step 1 and revalidate your idea because you really need to know who you're serving. Number 4, deliver a wow experience. Alright, no matter how many sign-up you get, you have to run the show. Even if there's only 1 student, you need to do a fantastic job because it's your chance to be in front of a camera and start teaching and start understanding how to facilitate that experience. And you only have 1 job here. Your job is to delight your attendees as much as possible. What I did for Easy Content Magic was that I was being really upfront with my buyers, attendees. I was telling them that this is a beta workshop and I would turn the materials into a full course and they would get it for free as well. Because I really want to give them the right expectations so that they would give me feedback and then we can together shape the course. Because you can imagine if I didn't set the expectation, some people might take the course and then they make a judgment about my quality and then they move on with their lives and never come back into my world. And the reason this has to be a fantastic workshop is because if you do a mediocre job, then you really cannot do a good job in video lessons. So in my case, I successfully sold 22 seats to the workshop and 15 of them showed up. Number 5, observe, gauge, and ask. After the live workshop, you might be thinking to yourself, wow, I did a great job. I think they're really happy. Well, please don't do that because that is hugely subjective. So there are a few quick ways that you can get signal about how people think about your workshop. Number 1 is whether the students show enthusiasm or reactions during the workshop. Number 2 is if the students stay behind to ask you questions after the 60-minute mark. Number 3 is when you ask them for feedback after the workshop. Are they giving you something super positive? Because if they're telling you, the workshop is good, Kavan. The workshop is interesting. The workshop is awesome. You know you didn't make it. Because these are just words people use when they don't know what to say. And you know, in your final survey, you really don't want to include too many questions because then people wouldn't do it. Or if they do, they wouldn't have time to put in the thoughts. So here you can see I only have 2 questions and they can complete it in 3 minutes. Out of my 15 live attendees, I was able to get 11 responses to the survey. So here's something I learned about doing surveys. If you want a high response rate, what you can do is offer something to them when they submit their answers. Maybe you have a low ticket product like a book, then you can just give it to them for free. Or if you have a really valuable video or like a secret workshop, you can also share it to them. Number 6, iterate and repeat. Now, after the live workshop, it's time to be very honest with yourself. Did the attendees have a really good time? Did they scream amazing? Or do you feel like you have won some new supporters? And what part do you think you can improve for the live workshop? Because I want to tell you, now you shouldn't be rushing to build a course just because you cannot wait. If you're honest with yourself, if you put down your ego, people will really tell you amazing feedback. And now it's time to tweak your workshop and then run it again for a second batch of people. Then when you feel like you have an amazing live workshop, it is time to move into building the course. But if I were you, I wouldn't even jump into building a course just yet. Because point number 7 is validate again by selling early. So instead of building the course, I would actually build the landing page so that I can start selling. And in the meanwhile, I'll be building the course in public so that in that 4 weeks, it becomes my promotional period. I can build up the momentum for an amazing launch. So here's the time when you can be a bit creative about that pricing strategy. For me, remember I offered to the workshop attendees $19 for a 60-minute workshop. I decided to offer the same price for the first 20 buyers. And then later on, I would increase the price to $27. So it gives people a bit more urgency to take action right away. And because I'm building the course in public, I'll be sharing about my progress, sharing about what I'm building, and then once in a while I would mention, hey, the pre-sale is still ongoing, why don't you get it? If you do it well in that 4 weeks, step number 8 is your mega moment. Launch your course. And by now, because you have been building in public, you should have a line of people dying to take your course right now. And before you launch, you should be listening carefully to the workshop attendees, because the words they use to describe your course, describe the problem that you're solving for them, should be the exact copy on the landing page. And then you can also grab all the people you have interacted with so far, especially the workshop attendees, to help you promote the course. If you give them a good time, if you create a ton of value for them, if you give them a very good price, I think they will be happy to help you out. So all in all, I really don't believe that building a course is about passive income. It is an amazing way to add values to people's lives. It is about solving problems for them. It's about helping them. And it is the perfect place to kick off a relationship. And guess what? The next time you build another course again, this same group of people will be also helping you out. And that's how you build a course in public to guarantee sales and also raving fans.